Sorry. Calling the May Finance and Budget Committee meeting to order. Welcome, everybody. J.P. Dean has agreed to lead us in prayer and pledge.
Heavenly Father, I'd like to take this time to thank you for all the things that we have and all the beauty that we have to look at. And I'd like to ask you to help people to find a little happiness in their life and let go of the sad so that, we can move on and things will be a better place. Amen. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, J.P. Dean. Are there any changes to the agenda? Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Make a motion.
I have a motion from J.P. Dean to adopt the agenda and a second by J.P. Rickard. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? The agenda is adopted. We'll move on to item 4, Treasurer Hill with the Treasurer's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, Court. Let's see. Wasn't a great month this month for revenue, but that will change this current month because of the collector opened up the tax books in March. So, and April is when the mortgage companies pay their escrows. So we get that this current month. It won't show on this, but 4.1, Treasurer Summary. See the general fund, first line, almost $5.5 million expenditures, 2.5 in revenue. You see at the end balance was 14.9 million. As of today, currently, thanks to the tax money, we have 22.6 million currently in the general fund. Look down to 2000 road and 3017 jail. They pretty much revenues and expenditures are about the same. Let's see. At the end of this report, we had the end of April. We had 89 million in the bank. 4.2 is the ARPA report. Let's see. We expended about 850,000 out of that fund, and currently we have just over 11 million in the fund. 4.3, this will be a new report for some of you, the new ones. Like I said, this is the property tax received. She opened the books in March, so we receive them the month after. So this in April we received 650,000 compared to 385,000 in 2024. And looking ahead, sneak peek to May, we received 7.9 million compared to 7.5 million last year. 4.4, the 1 cent sales tax, received 848,000, just about a 1.5% increase. This is from February, and if you remember in February we had several icy road days, so that tends to keep people at home. 4.5 is a 1/4 cent jail tax. 1.3 million came in. And for the year, that's almost 7% over last year. Money-wise, it's about 370,000 more than last year. And that's all I have.
Any questions for Treasurer Hill? J.P. Coger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Treasurer Hill, I have just a couple of questions, and this is mostly for people who are watching at home.
Okay.
On Fund 3401, the HIV clinic, $61,786.21. I know we passed an ordinance earlier this year, but could you just tell the people at home who that was paid to?
That's paid to the community clinic on April 3rd.
Okay. And on Fund 3402, the law library has income of $17,488.51. Could you do the same there and just tell us where all that money, the sources of that? I know it comes from the district courts, but.
Yeah, Well, the law library is just a small percentage of the overall administration of justice money that we receive. And that money we receive is from the circuit clerk and the city courts. And it's just fines and fees that those entities collect.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Treasurer Hill? J.P. Dean? Or Dennis,
Thank
sorry.
you, Mr. Chair. I was scrolling through and saw the schools listed, and of course, I know that we've got voting coming up next week and early voting right now. Speak about millage and on the school. So when you actually vote in a millage, the tax goes up, is that correct?
Yes.
And so how
Every
much is
tenth of a
how
mill
much
is
is a
about-
millage?
About every tenth of a mill increase, I think it's around 400,000 increase. That's just off the top of my head. I might be off
right,
a little here or
right.
there, but
Oh, it was off the top of my head. I just saw that school thing, and I knew it was time to vote on.
I mean, most of the schools
School board.
have between 39 and 45 mills.
So like when, I know Prairie Grove's got a request for a millage increase, and I think Farmington does too. So how much will that be for them?
What are they trying to increase it to?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what their millage
Like I
is.
said, every tenth, if they're going to do
That's what I was asking, is how much is one millage?
1 mill.
Or give me something to use for a gauge.
Let's see, 1 mill would be about 4 million. Again, I'd have to,
1 mil would be 4 million for,
before I start lying to you, let me look at my numbers
I mean,
and find it.
I guess the reason I'm asking, I think it is valid, is, we're all going to the
For county general,
voter, to vote, and
let's say
sometimes you're not sure what you're voting for.
for
or
county
against.
general, 4.3 mills brings in 22.9 million approximately. So let me get on my phone. Maybe doing this wrong. A little over 5 million per mill.
Little over,
5 million per mill. Somewhere in that neighborhood.
and share with me too this, what percentage does the schools get of the
80 cents on the dollar, pretty much,
80 cents on a dollar?
from what we bring in.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Treasurer Hill? Thank you, Treasurer Hill.
You're welcome.
Item 5 is the employee insurance report. Mr. Angel?
Good evening. I think we start with the balances of the account. We started at 1.4 million and finished at 1.3 million. So the insurance account's down about 100,000 from last month. Moving on to the cash flow, it is virtually a snapshot of what last month's cash flow was. I think we were up about $5,000. Total cost last month was $919,800. Total cost this month was $925,000. So just a basic repeat of last month, except we did get a pharmaceutical rebate last month. You'll notice it's a little lower. Usually we're between $225 and $250 on those. This one was $192,000, but we've gotten 2 rebates in the last 3 months, so that one was pretty quick. Traditionally, we get about 4 of those a year, so we got that one about a month early, which probably drove that number down just a touch. I'd reported last month that we were going to bring in Blue Cross and Blue Shield to talk to us about some updates to our pharmacy plan. We did have that meeting with Blue. They brought some of their pharmacists with us. They've worked up a reprice. So we are hopeful to have an updated pharmacy contract. We won't be able to put that in place until January 1st. Those are one-year contracts with PBMs, and if you break them, you lose all your rebates for the rest of the year, and we obviously cannot afford to do that. We also held the meeting with the company that is looking to help us with some GLP-1s. That's your Ozempics, Mounjaros, your shots for type 2 diabetics. We've got that contract in-house with the county, and they're reviewing that now, I believe. So that will be an option for people because it won't be the same delivery mechanism that they're currently using, but the price tag on that for the self-funded goes way down, and then we can also pull those co-pays for the employees to kind of help incentivize them to go that other route. So hopefully that can give us some relief on the pharmaceutical side as well, because 18.2% of our pharmaceutical spend last year was on GLP-1s. So those are the two things we're working on to try to control claim costs. At the end of the day, there's not a lot you can do to control claims, but sometimes you can control the cost if you work on better contracts, things like that.
Any questions for Mr. Angel? Thank you, Mr. Angel.
Yes, sir.
Item 6 is the Comptroller's Report. Comptroller Sherman.
Good evening. The first report there is basically just a statement of operations. We're through April 30th, so that's 33% through the year. There's nothing that really stands out to me on these. Nobody's really overspent. A couple of the small funds back there need cleaned up a little bit, but that's just, we'll do that in another couple of months to clean that up. Is there any questions on this? I think everybody's spending within limits. The next report is the unappropriated reserve balance. And last year, basically, or last month, you just voted on 2 ordinances, so it changed a little bit. There was $520,000 that we took from the general fund. That was for the Water Conservation District. That was 20 grand, and we did $500,000 for the EOC to spend in that. So, and I will say that we're watching the health insurance fund pretty close. I'm pretty comfortable with $1 million. We're putting about $300,000 every pay period into it, so it's not going to bottom out drastically. We have a couple months, but we do need to, like Mr. Angel said, we need to look at a couple ways that we can try to slow down the train of medical claims. So, is there any questions on that report?
J.P. Koger.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a question about I think it's Fund 2003, the Fuel Tax Act 416 of 2019. It looks like, if I'm reading it correctly, we budgeted $1 million, and we've already spent 82.9% of that.
Yeah, one of the things with that fund, it can only be used to purchase certain things. So sometimes the road department will go ahead and use that fund. Once he's done with that fund, though, he will not get into that anymore. He won't come back and ask for any extra. That's just an additional tax that he spends.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Comptroller Sherman? All right, so I initiated some conversations with Comptroller Sherman this past week to start talking about the plan for budgeting, right? I would like to make sure that we have a plan, everybody understands what we plan to do week to week, expectations of coming in week to week, reviews, questions, whatnot. Okay, so we've started that discussion. Comptroller Sherman's going to talk a little bit about that, but when we get closer, we'll document that and hand out so everybody has it. So one of the things I kind of got frustrated with is not knowing from week to week, what was the plan? Did we expect people to come in? Are we doing this? Are we doing that? So it's one of the things I hopefully will help you guys out, being able to come in and prepared with whatever reviews with your questions or coming to us and that type of thing. So if you want to.
And I'll give this formal timeline out. I'm working on a talking paper with timeline and also some educational stuff on our revenue sources and explaining some of the different funds. And it's a good refresher for the people that have been on the horseshoe, and it'll be new information for the new justices on. But the timeline this year, what we expect to do is we're working on the spreadsheet right now to get out to the departments. we want to have the spreadsheet to the departments by June 1st. And then through June and July, we'll meet with, the judge will meet with all his departments. I'll be talking to the different elected officials to work through anything to come up with a good draft budget. And then we want to get that budget to you guys by August 15th. And then that'll give you about, wherever the Finance Committee falls in September, it'll give you 15 to 25 days to look at it. If you want to contact me with any questions, I can run down if you have any concerns. And then in September, what we would like to do at the Finance Committee is specifically go over the budget. I'll give you those same summaries that we have. You guys can address any questions to me. If you want to call it, like if you see an issue maybe that I can't answer, you want to talk to a director, we can potentially have them come and speak to it. So we'll work on any of that debate, discussion, make changes, and then I would like to have the first vote on the budget in October of the Finance Committee to move to the Quorum Court. And then that'll give us 3 months, basically, to iron anything out. So if it doesn't pass in October, then we can work on it, have discussions, debate, readdress it in November, do the same thing again if we need to, and go to December. So that's what we want the formal timeline
Yeah,
to be.
appreciate it. And again, like we always do, we'll send questions out. I like something that Comptroller Sherman started. When I gave him questions, he sent everybody the answer. So everybody had insight into the questions being asked, the answers being provided. I know there's been some discussion about having departments come through. I don't really want to just say every department's got to come through. I want you guys to review it, and by that first meeting that we come together on, if there's something in there that's complicated that you think we need more discussion on, send that to us. Let us know that's a department we'd like to hear from, and what your questions are, what you're really looking for, and we'll schedule that. Okay, if that makes sense. That way we can get, some of them come in and they're very complex with the capitalizations, and I know the sheriff had a very complicated capital budget that they were looking at, and there were some things prior to that, and having that resolution and verification is nice as we go through that process. So that's kind of what's in my head right now and why I started the discussion. But again, the first year, if you remember, the first year I was on the board, every department came through. And then the second year, they didn't come through, and there was really no discussion about they would or they wouldn't, or what that process was. So that's something I'm trying to fill. Hopefully that helps you guys out to be prepared for those times. Your questions, who do you want to hear, and we'll better provide you the information we need as we get to the vote. JP Koger?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. My only thing with that is, I like for us to have public discussions and not just send emails among each other, because I like for the public to hear how we make decisions. So that's why I think, just in my opinion, I think it's important that the department heads come in and speak to their budgets. But I'll just put that out there.
Appreciate the input.
Thank you.
Well, I'd just say too, like if we have those discussions, we can say, hey, that needs to be in the public forum, and I can do it. I can answer those questions. Not all directors are comfortable coming in front of the horseshoe. It can be a terrifying, deal. And yeah, well, if you're firing questions at them, they're already thinking like, oh, I'm speaking in public, I'm on being videoed, all that kind of stuff, and it can be intimidating. Now the big directors, that's what they get paid for.
JP Stafford?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was going to say, I would at least like to see, right off the bat, to have the road department and the sheriff's department come present to us, because those are the two biggest, departments in our county. They're the most massive part of our budget. And if we, debating on whether to add personnel to that as well, but I think maybe that'll depend on whether there's, major changes with the pay plan and things like that. But at least sheriff and road.
Okay, appreciate that. Yeah, and again, if you guys have ideas early on, more than happy to take the feedback, and we'll work through that. So thank you very much. Any other questions, comments? Thank you, sir. Item 7 is an ordinance amending the quorum court budget. So this has to do with a suit that we've lost that we now need to pay what was ruled to be paid, just kind of scanning through and summarizing. And what this ordinance does is provide the funds into the quorum court budget, and then that award will be paid out of the quorum court budget. JP Coger?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to point out that I sued in my individual capacity.
I'm sorry, ma'am. I need a motion. We don't have a motion on the table to discuss this yet. Yep.
Motion to send to the,
Go ahead.
motion to send to the quorum court with a due pass recommendation.
Okay, now, JP Coger, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I sued in my individual capacity. I don't mind being, say, JP Beth Coger, as long as that doesn't have an effect adversely on my taxes, because the judgment is actually, both judgments are actually in favor of Elizabeth or Beth Coger. Thank you.
JP Lopez?
I do have a question, because this has to do with something I think that we opted into earlier in the year. Is this like a copay for the insurance that we got earlier in the year? I thought there was an insurance that we paid into in case for like, should the county be sued for something? Does it not apply to something like this?
No, that's our risk management fund, and that does not
Okay.
apply to suits like this.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Public comment? Oh, I'm sorry. It wasn't on a minute ago, I swear.
I put it on as you were asking the question. Yeah, I just, I have questions. I just want to know, like, has this ever happened before? Because I'm sure this isn't the first lawsuit the county has lost. This is definitely the first time that I've ever seen an ordinance come to us asking to appropriate the funds. I'm pretty sure about that. So how do we normally pay lawsuits that we lose? And has this ever happened before? That's really my question.
Do you know?
I mean, I'm sure it's happened before. No one, I don't think anybody budgets for lawsuits. So anytime there is a lawsuit and there's a substantial amount, it's got to be paid by the county. This is court ordered.
I just don't remember us ever being given an ordinance where the plaintiff was named and we were asked to appropriate the money to pay the lawsuit. I've been here 6 years and I swear I've never seen anything like this before, so. Okay, thanks.
JP Lenning?
What I want to ask is, thank you, Chair, first. On where we got, where we was sued for $100,000 and we got $38,142.50 back, it's going into the county attorney's budget. I know this same part of the same stuff, comes from the same suit. Why take it out of the general fund and put it in the quorum court's budget? Why not use part of this $38,142 we're getting back?
So the next ordinance is an ordinance, we have been, the county again has been sued by the same entity that sued regarding the jail, regarding the COVID mitigation project, and lost, and the quorum court appropriated money for legal defense. That is to hire outside counsel to assist in a lawsuit that we feel like is pretty significant. This particular one is the award of attorney's fees, not the county's attorney's fees, but the plaintiff's attorney's fees. In this particular case, just so you all know, I was named as a defendant in that in the case that we're talking about right now, so I was not able to represent the county. It was a tactic to try to get us to have to expend more money, which we did. And as you can see, the issue was we had a county employee who made a decision without any oversight or guidance from the county and violated FOIA, and we defended the county's position that the county shouldn't be the one that's responsible for that because the county did not instruct the employee to violate FOIA. That was a decision the employee made. We lost that argument to the court, so now we know where we stand on that. But this is court-ordered, and the other one is to actually employ legal counsel to assist. And so that they're just kind of two different things, two different issues.
JP Coger?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In response to what Mr. Lester said, actually, Mr. Lester, you were not a defendant in this lawsuit. You were a defendant in my first
All
lawsuit.
right, I got a point of order. It really does not have any bearing on this ordinance. So, let's keep that outside of this form where we're voting on an ordinance to appropriate the funds to pay the award that was issued by the court.
I was just trying to set the record straight.
JP Washington?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So my questions are along the lines of those of JP Hires. So on line 12, we just have whereas the former director of the Washington County Criminal Justice Coordinating Committee, vague, no specific name, but everywhere else, JP Coger's name is listed. So I realize that nobody here at the Horseshoe actually wrote this ordinance, but my question there is why. So if we're going to name JP Coger, then why did we not name the other person in the first paragraph? And so because of that, I get it. But at the end of the day, we're all still colleagues, and I would hope that if I were in this situation as well, that there would be some grace that would be extended to me, and not in the form of what could be perceived as public embarrassment or retaliation or anything like that. And so having said that, I move that we amend this ordinance and that we remove JP Coger's name on line 17. And so that paragraph reads, whereas Washington County defended itself against allegations asserting that a county employee acting without supervisory and the rest of that, and also that it be removed on line 22, and that paragraph reads, whereas the court determined that Washington County is liable for the action of its former employee and has ordered the county to cover legal expenses.
What's the general term for complaintiff's expenses? Complaintiff's legal expenses? Yeah, so the only thing I'd like to suggest is to add where we remove JP Coger complainant's legal expenses to be more specific. Are you okay with that?
Yes.
Who seconded that? I'm sorry. Thank you. Okay, so I have an amendment on the second whereas clause to modify that to read, whereas Washington County defended itself against allegations asserting that a county employee acting without supervisory approval or legal counsel from the county attorney's office violated FOIA. And then the third whereas, to change that to read, the court determined that Washington County is liable for the actions of its former employee and has ordered the county to cover complaintiff's legal expenses. I have a motion by JP Washington, a second by JP Hire. Any discussion? Public comment? Oh, okay, I'm sorry, my mistake. I apologize. Thank you. JP Wilson, yeah, just, because I looked down, it's not there, and then I look, they're tricking me. They're trying to trap me. JP Wilson.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that, and I think everybody already realizes this, but I'm going to say it anyway. When you enter into a lawsuit, whether it's involving the county or whether it's personal, and this is true for all of us, anytime you enter a legal and public arena, you can expect that things are gonna get really messy. And that may mean that your name is out there in public more than you want. But I don't know if our judicial system has any safeguards to promise someone that you can bring a lawsuit, yeah, but we're gonna make it so that you'll have as little fallout as possible. I kind of feel like that's the discussion. It's a tangential discussion almost about that issue. But the truth is, all of us who are adults understand when you go into a messy legal arena, sometimes your name is going to be drugged who knows where. And it'll come up in all kinds of contexts. So I don't know if we have an obligation or the ability to shield every individual from fallout as a result of what attorneys or judges may do that we have no control over. So I'm not saying support this or don't support it. I'm just saying that you can't fix everything by ordinance or amendment. We can't clean up the whole world. We can't clean up every perception. And that's just a general thought to keep in mind almost with any legal discussion. Thank you.
J.P. Bruns?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Was this lawsuit filed as J.P. Beth Koger as a defendant in it? How was her name ever brought up in it?
J.P. Koger was the plaintiff who filed the lawsuit against the county.
Okay, so she was the plaintiff, and she filed it as J.P. Beth Koger.
No, she filed it as Beth Koger.
Okay, then why are we putting J.P. in front of her name?
Because she's a
in this
J.P.
ordinance? Well, it doesn't make any difference. She did file it that way.
Maybe not to you.
J.P. Hires?
Yeah, thank you. I just want to say, I don't feel like we're shielding anyone from fallout because, I mean, the information's out there in the public. I think that by doing what J.P. Washington has suggested, what we're doing is bringing this ordinance in line with all the other ordinances that we've ever dealt with involving a lawsuit where no one was specifically named particularly in our ordinances. That's where the disconnect that I'm seeing, where I've never seen anything quite like this, and that's what I was referring to at that point. So I think we're just like bringing this back into what's normal, because this is not normal. Thank you.
J.P. Lopez?
Yeah, to agree with Justice Hires here, I do believe this is about establishing and maintaining norms. It's just not the way that we would want the decorum of the court to appear, that anybody could just start naming other people. And again, it's not to shield anyone, it's just a matter of decorum, how we would like to operate, and holding ourselves to a standard where, you know, we want to just hold it, have a certain amount of respect for every single person who serves on this horseshoe or anyone else who we deal with. Thank you.
Any other discussion? J.P. Pond?
Well, I had never thought about it until we got into this discussion, but let's say if I sued the county and then you wound up owing me money to pay for whoever represented me, it'd have to be down in the record. And if I thought I was gonna be embarrassed because I sued the county for something, I probably maybe would think, well, maybe I hadn't ought to do this. Because if it's embarrassing, then something's the matter with it. But where's the transparency here? If any one of us on this court could sue the county and then have our name, we'll just be discreet about this. Old Butch, he's suing the county, but we don't want his name to come up. It'd be in the newspaper anyway, I'm pretty sure. But, yeah, I don't see where this discussion, what the deal is here, why we're even having this discussion. But, hey, that's just me. About all I got.
I think to J.P. Wilson's point, it's in the public record. So it's out there. Does it need to be in the ordinance? Probably not, and I don't remember norms. I trust J.P. Hires' memory. You know, if the norms is we don't put names in there, we probably should stay with those norms, but J.P. Koger.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to speak for myself. I don't see it as fallout. I don't need to be shielded. I don't want to be shielded, and I'm not embarrassed. I'm proud that I was able to do this, to hold the county accountable.
J.P. Washington.
Thank you. So I just want to add that I think I used the word embarrassment. That was just my interpretation. So I do apologize for that mix-up because you didn't say that you were embarrassed. That's what I used. And when we talk about transparency, the truth of the matter is that this is already a matter of public record. As the chair just mentioned, it is already out there. And my reason in making this amendment was that just because we can does not mean that we have to. We have had so many hot topics here around this horseshoe. We've had a lot of partisan politics around this horseshoe, and this is an opportunity for us to show that, you know what, just because we can, it does not mean that we have to. That was the spirit behind my amendment. And also to echo what has already been said, that when we have established norms, in my entire time on this court, I don't ever recall anyone's name specifically being mentioned. So that was the spirit behind the amendment. Yes, it was my interpretation that it could be embarrassing. It was my interpretation that it was kind of getting in the mud. That was my own personal interpretation. But being objective, we've never had this happen before, so why does it need to start now? That was the spirit behind that. Does everybody who wants to know about this lawsuit know? Absolutely. It's a matter of public record. This is not about hiding something. It is not about shielding someone, but it really is about us really having decorum in how we as colleagues treat each other and how we as colleagues see and view each other. And the truth of the matter is that I don't care whose name was in her place. I would have a problem with that. Whether we are in the same political party, whether we hold the same political beliefs or even personal beliefs, I would have a problem if any person who is on this quorum court, if their name was listed in an ordinance. I just don't think it's the right thing to do. I don't think that we have to do it. I don't think that having the name in there changes anything in this ordinance. It's not necessary, so if it's not necessary, then why do it? And I just wanted to explain the spirit behind that.
Thank you, J.P. Washington. Any other discussion? Okay, so we are voting on the amendment to make the change to this ordinance, to change the second whereas to be Washington County defended itself against allegations asserting that a county employee acting without supervisory approval or legal counsel from the county attorney's office violated FOIA. And in the third whereas to read, the court determined that Washington County is liable for the actions of its former employee and has ordered the county to cover plaintiff's legal expenses. It was a motion by J.P. Washington, seconded by J.P. Lopez. All in favor? Aye. Oh, J.P. Hire, sorry. All in favor? Aye. Aye. All opposed? I think the ayes have it, so the ordinance is amended. So back to the ordinance as amended. I'm assuming, and I looked at it, it was Stafford and Lopez on the actual ordinance, sorry. Your motion still stands, second still stands. Any additional discussion on the amended ordinance? Seeing none. Do I need to do public comment on this?
Yes.
Public comment? They'll get it right sooner or later.
Mac Mayfield, 980 Rocky Lane, 72704. I appreciate the discussion on decorum. I do hope that the county will adopt a more open stance in terms of sharing information going forward. There are several entanglements right now, and the through line on all of that is information not being shared with the public and things being done without notice for us. So I appreciate Beth standing up and making the point. I hope that will be well taken. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. Any other public comment? Seeing none, we're voting on the amendment as amended. It was motion by J.P. Stafford, seconded by J.P. Lopez. All in favor, aye? Aye. All opposed? It passes. Item 8 is an ordinance basically taking funds that was going to be allocated to supporting a previous court case that was suing the county and applying that for outside legal counsel for a new court case that is being sued to the county regarding challenging the county's community rebuilding initiative. If you guys remember, it was the initiative that we voted on, we applied money to, that has been started and has started down the road. Motions? J.P. Rigger?
Make a motion to pass the full quorum court with due pass.
Motion by J.P. Ricker and a second by J.P. Dean. Any discussion? J.P. Lemming.
Thank you, Chair. Would it be appropriate to ask Paul and Bobby a question?
Sure.
If this is both in the general fund 1,000, why can't we pay this 9,700 out of that 38,000?
Well, I think that 100,000 was appropriated last year, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah, so really, it went back to zero, so there's 38,000 more that's needed. What they're doing is just taking the difference and saying, okay, we had 100,000 last year, and really, you wouldn't even have to mention the last year's budget, the 100,000. You could just say we want to appropriate 38,000 to cover outside legal expenses.
So you're saying we didn't get that money back, or we did get that money back?
Didn't use it all.
So you put it in the general fund?
Right, it just rolls over.
So it rolled back in there and it's back in there?
Correct.
So,
But it needs to be reappropriated though, because it's a new fiscal year.
why can't it stay in the account until we need it? To your account, the general fund?
Well, it is in the general fund, but when the new fiscal year flips, everything has to be appropriated, saying that you can spend it. Because really, that 100,000 was for fiscal year '24. Now we're in fiscal year '25. So what it did was you would see it in Bobby's carryover, Treasurer Hill's carryover. He just put it in his projections. This is the money we have left over, just like all the other money.
So it's a blue sky, it really ain't there.
Yeah, I guess if that's
It's not in the checking account.
It is in the checking account. 38,000 is. We never spent it.
So you just need to reappropriate to the county attorney's budget.
Because it's
in
right
case, and if he needs it. Do you need it, Brian?
Right now, it's in unappropriated. It would be considered in unappropriated funds.
Yes, so right now, this isn't in the county council's fund today?
No.
Because it didn't roll over?
No.
So
It
really
do-
what
well,
we're
it
doing-
doesn't.
so
Like
really-
your budget for an individual department does not roll over.
Yeah,
so,
okay. So really what we're doing, actually, this ordinance is not correct, as I understand correctly. What we're doing is we're appropriating $38,000 from the general unappropriated funds to
Correct.
the county.
Correct.
Okay.
To the county attorney.
To the county attorney's budget, is really what we're doing.
That you may need or you might not need.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so the county judge has indicated that he wants to vigorously defend this lawsuit just like we did the previous lawsuit. In order to do so, you know, we have a 2-attorney office that handles a lot of things outside litigation. We don't have any legal staff. We don't have paralegals. We don't have legal secretaries or anything. And so in order to do that, we would have to have money appropriated because we don't keep money in our budget to do that. So anytime something like this happens, we have to come to the quorum court and say, hey, this is what we'd like to do. And so we looked at this and thought we had that, there was $100,000 that was appropriated, we didn't use it all. And so that's why we didn't come up with a different number, just say, we would like to at least look at that and see how it goes from there.
You may need more later.
Could be, or there could be like this, and there could be money that rolls back into the general unappropriated reserves. We can't spend appropriated reserves. You have to appropriate it to spend.
And I'm going to correct myself, because as I read Article 1, it does state that we're appropriating the amount out of the unappropriated reserves in the general fund to the special legal line of the county attorney budget. So that I correct my statement previously, was what I said earlier was wrong, and that is what we're doing in this. So I think we're good here.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Public comment. Okay, seeing none, coming back for a vote, we have a motion by J.P. Ricker, seconded by J.P. Dean, to pass this ordinance on to the quorum court with a due pass recommendation. All those in favor, aye? Aye. Those opposed, no? It passes. Last item is citizens' comment. As a reminder, we have 3 minutes per individual and a total of 12 minutes. Citizens' comment? Seeing none,